Expressed here are not supported by and do not reflect those of the Evening Rush Network. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Yes, sir. We are here. It's Plug with Mahli and Joe, the Mental Warriors. Clap it up for yourself, Joe. Clap it up for yourself, Joe. Holla at yourself, man. Listen. Oh, man. We are here again, once again, another week. Plug, Mahli and Joe. We don't have our brother Zakaria today with us. He's bringing in the last day of the Feast on Unleavened Bread. It's the last day of observance and whatnot. So he's bringing that in tonight over there in the West Coast, whereas over here in the East Coast, we already sundown. Everything is quiet on this end. And what's coming on tonight's show, it's a little, it's a very sad topic. It's called Violence Begets Violence. The surge of violence in New York City, the surge of violence all over the place, actually, because once you look at the news, you see it happening everywhere. But New York City is a little more close to home. That's where Joe and myself reside. And yeah, we want to talk about that today. Joe, holla at the people, man, real quick.
What's going on, everybody? Very, very productive week, I guess, on all of our parts. Been very productive for a lot of us. We'll talk about some of the things that we be doing later on in the show, but another chance to tell our story. And I can't wait to get into it tonight, brother.
The Mental Warriors podcast. That has a ring to it. I see it down there on the bottom. I like it. You know, we need to look into that one right there. This week, what we do, we paying homage this week as opposed to last week we was on. We gave flowers. So when we give flowers, we're giving props to those who are here with us in the flesh, and they're still doing things, things that making the ancestors proud, because that's what that's basically what the segment is called. And this segment is paying homage to our ancestors, those ancestors who are no longer with us, but yet we want to give them a shout out and make sure that they understand that we are still fighting the same battles they've been fighting. If it's a little bit easier, it's because of them. So shout out to those that came before us and laid out the platforms that we're able to stand upon today. All right. Of course, we're going to do our current event section. Our current event section, you know what that is. We're going to take topics, just random topics, either local, national, or either worldly, and then we're going to talk about it. We're going to put our little spin on it. We're going to speak on it with our views and with our knowledge on it. All right, Joe, what's the platforms we on this week, man?
What are we on every week, right?
Let us know, right?
Well, continue on. This is the platforms you can listen to us on are Amazon Music, Pandora, Stitcher, Podchaser, TuneIn, Reasons Podcast, Google's Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Anchor.fm, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Mixcloud, iTunes Podcast, theeveningrush.network.com, and also on the Evening Rush Network app, which is available both on iOS and Android.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clap it up for ourselves, man. We all over the place, and I think we're just going to get a little bit bigger as the year goes on, just a little bit bigger. Like you said, Joe, this past week, man, we're going to speak about those things that's happened for our programs, for ourselves personally. Speak to any type of growth within yourself this past week. Got any particular situation where you found growth within yourself this past week, brother?
Well, we're educators are off this week for spring break, so took this time to do a lot of outside business work, which is my tourism company, and had a few tours to do. Very productive, very good feedback, and just spent a lot of time being hustle man, if you will, going back to my roots, hitting the streets. You know what I mean, on foot. I call it foot soldiering. And I was doing a lot of that this week. So it's always good to go back to your foundations and what you know, because that's what makes you, and a lot of us forget, even with tech and social media and all that stuff to promote, there's nothing like promoting yourself on foot and so that people can see you. Customer service means something. People being able to see a face means something.
Hands on, right? Hands on. Hands-on is important, man.
Interactiveness is very important, and people appreciate that because now all they're doing is talking to automated machines and robots and things like that. Did you know that the buses in Times Square don't even have tour guides on them? They just have the drivers, and you have to you listen to a voice box.
Really?
Like where's the interactiveness? They're eliminating the human side of things, and that's not
human
good.
nature, right?
A lot of people like human interaction, so that's not a good look. So you have people like me who's all about human interaction. That's where I come in, and hopefully I can get some of those people to come over to me.
That's what's up, man. And listen, I applaud you, man. I applaud the work that you do. I applaud all the knowledge that you bring to the show and you bring to people's lives, period. It's just something that you love to do. So I salute you for that, brother. Definitely, most definitely. So we're going on to our next segment, which one of the segments that we know and love and whatnot, and that's paying homage to our ancestors. All right, that's the segment we know and love. And the reason why we love it is because we get a chance to, like I said, to shed light on those who came before us and those who's helped us along our path and create this platform for us, as I said before. So first up to bat is my main man, Joe. Joe, what you got for us this week? Who you got for us this week?
I have somebody who is very unheralded, who wouldn't be known unless you're a person of women's rights, unless you're a person of socialism, unless you're a radicalist.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to do a tour today for a radical councilwoman who was very into knowing who the people that thought outside the box were. This woman that I'm going to talk about today is Victoria Earl Matthews.
Okay.
Victoria Earl Matthews was an American author, newspaper woman, essayist, settlement worker, and activist.
Mm-hmm.
She was born in Fort Valley, Georgia, and moved to New York City with her family after the emancipation. There, she attended school and worked as a domestic servant to her family. The reason why Victoria Earl Matthews is so important is because she started at the time the first settlement house in Harlem called the White Rose Mission. The White Rose Mission was a organization that helped young African-American women coming from the South to the North, helped them get their lives together. During the Great Migration, a lot of women were conned into coming to the North by older men or people, unscrupulous people. And Victoria Earl Matthews and the White Rose Mission at the time were responsible for these people when they got there, finding them a place to stay, aiding them in society, and getting them set up in domestic situations to where they could succeed in life.
Wow.
So very similar to how the YMCA was for men and the YWCA was. Like, these are organizations that existed for that, and there weren't too many at the time. And a lot of people don't know about the White Rose Mission. So kudos to Victoria Earl Matthews for doing the work at a time when it wasn't noted for us to do the work. Or
you said that was part of your tour this week?
Yes, that was part of my tour this afternoon.
And
I talked about it because she was a radicalist. She was somebody who thought outside the box.
And once again, where was that at?
This was in Central Harlem.
Central Harlem. And what was Central Harlem is what, like we say?
135th Street to about 155th Street. From River to River. Sorry, River to St. Nicholas Avenue, I should say, rather.
Copy. So yeah, shout out, man. Listen, that's what I love about that segment here, is because you learn about people. You know what I mean? You learn about different people. You learn, very interesting people too, especially coming from you, Joe. You always come up with some doozies, but that's the line of the work you're in, right? All right, so moving
there's so many stories that are unheralded. We just got to continue to tell all of them
and dig. We have to dig. And want to be and want to know. We have to have that want to know. You know what I'm saying? So that's important as well. But moving on ahead, I'm going to go into who I'm going to pay homage to, who I'm giving, who I'm saying, one of the ancestors that did it with all that, with all kinds of obstacles against him. Everything was against him at the time. It was a time of heavy racism and segregation and all that other good stuff. and he broke the barrier of Major League Baseball, and that's none other than Jackie Robinson, who was an African-American professional baseball player who broke Major League Baseball's infamous color barrier, because at the time there was nothing but white people, white boys playing baseball in professional sports. The times of Babe Ruth and on up and whatnot, and he was one of the first to break that color barrier. Said when he started at first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15th, 1947. Until that time, professional ball players of color suited up for teams only in the Negro Leagues. And that's significant. The Negro Leagues is a very significant part of our history, because we like to sit here and belittle ourselves when it comes down to the patriotism of being part of this whole country, and how it was built, and everything that that we've done to help build this country. And I believe that we have to start taking more pride in everything that we've done. And one of them is the Negro Leagues, where we had so many great athletes sit there. And I'm talking about, they had mythical stories like Satchel Paige and
Larry Doby.
yeah,
Gibson.
yeah, Josh Gibson. Like Josh Gibson, his stories was like he was like King Kong or something, man. Like they used to speak about Josh Gibson. Yep, there you go. The great Jackie Robinson, man. Yeah, man. And that's where we was, that's what. And the thing about us as a people, and which I love about us, is that even if you nutshell us or put us in some type of pigeonhole, listen, we gonna knock it out the park anyway, figuratively speaking, and literally. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We're gonna knock it right out the park no matter what. So they had us in the Negro League, and we was out there. They was out there wilding. They was out there striking everything out, and people questioned if these people ever had a chance to be in the major leagues, whether they would whether they would excel. Jackie Robinson was one of the first to allow us into that idea that we would excel amongst these men. So it says April 15th is observed as Jackie Robinson Day, and it was significant the other day that my program actually got to perform for none other than the Brooklyn Cyclones for Jackie Robinson Day. His jersey is retired. The number 42 jersey is retired amongst all of baseball. So that's like one of the highest honors you can get within any sport, which is like nobody can wear that number ever again. So that's pretty dope. Especially for all that he's been through just to be a pioneer for the black man in baseball. They said Robinson's dazzling athletic prowess and grace under pressure effectively led to the integration of the major leagues. In his 10-year career with the Dodgers, and his outspoken activism in later years helped set the stage for the burgeoning civil rights movement. So he wasn't just a baseball player. He also had friends like the likes of Jim Brown and others, other activists like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. All of these men, they was all in the trenches together. No, he was friends with Bill Russell as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So all of these men that he surrounded himself with, all of them was about the civil rights movement. All of them was about activism. And every last one of them broke down barriers that, listen, I don't think, like I said, we wouldn't have the platform we have today without these men knocking down these barriers in all kinds of shapes, fashion, and form, whether it be music, whether it be sports, whether it be academics, whether it be, just everyday street life. You know what I'm saying? Like just everyday survival, So at the end of the day, man, salute to Jackie Robinson, salute to all those that that we need to pay homage to, that we haven't done so yet, and that we have done so. Salute to everyone, man. Listen, we have such a great, rich history, Joe. No?
Oh, more than what people care to know, and more what people understand. Like, it goes beyond bounds. We could talk about so many different figures, which we will be talking about as the time passes, so that people understand that you can't stop us. Like Diddy said, can't stop, won't stop.
Nah, not at all, man. Even if we tried to stop, man, it keep happening, man. The names keep popping up, the topics keep popping up, the issues keep popping up, as we're going to see today. We're going to see, listen, it's another day, a different day, and we're going to have 4 different articles. We ain't gonna rehash it. Ain't none of these articles old articles. All these are brand new topics, brand new situations. And the topic of the day, of course, violence begets violence, is one of the things that it's not a new topic, but then it seems so fresh. It seems so new, right? I guess it's the way that it's happening these days, right? So with that being said, we're gonna go into our next segment, which another segment we love. We love all our segments, so I guess I need to stop saying that. You know what I mean? It seems kind of cliche. So current events. All right. So we got current events here today. And our first one is Black man in Michigan, Patrick Lyoya. Right? That's the name, Patrick Lyoya. Am I saying it right, Joe?
That's correct.
All right, Patrick Lyoya was shot. Joe, you want to speak to it real quick?
Ain't nothing that we ain't heard before. What it is it apparently he was in a scuffle with the officer at a stop, and during a traffic stop, and the officer shot him in the back of the head. It's one of those situations where you realize that violence wasn't necessary. I think it was extreme. I think it was something that definitely could have been handled differently. But as we see in our cases, when it comes to Black people, the extreme is always the first option.
When did this happen?
This happened about a few weeks back. This happened in March, if I'm not mistaken, sometime in March. Okay. This is recent. April, right? April 4th. Sorry, I knew either the end of March, beginning of April. April.
I have the article here. Read from the article real quick. An officer from the Grand Rapids Department shot 26-year-old Patrick Lyoya on April 4th after pulling him over for an alleged unregistered license plate. After Lyoya appeared to begin to move away from the officer chased Lyoya, and the two ended up physically struggling on the ground, where the officer shot Lyoya. He wasn't armed at the time of the shooting, according to the family attorney. The officer who shot Lyoya is heard saying, "Let go of the taser," before firing the fatal shot. The taser. So we got another one think he got a taser in his hand.
Right, and it's a gun.
Wow. Wow. So another day, another Black man dead, right? Like when does it end, man? Like, come on, man. Oh man, that's crazy.
How much more do we have to hear these stories, bro? Like, what will it take for us to not be on this side of the spectrum? And it is almost, it's very depressing to the point that we have to continue to hear these stories, because people don't understand our psyche. People don't understand how we feel about these things. And as long as it's going to continue to happen, we'll never see true equality in this world. We'll never see we'll never feel justified or justice for what happens to us. We'll always feel like it's unfair.
Yeah, indeed, man. Take lead on the next topic there.
All right. Where are we? Eric Adams the mayor of New York City suggests growing marijuana on NYCHA roofs. I'm laughing at that because I really thought that was a gimmick line. He said it says that he wants cannabis on the NYCHA rooftops. For those who don't know, NYCHA is New York City Housing Authority. So these are the people who pretty much run the projects in New York City. And he's saying that the federal government, the feds, are not on board with that. I agree. The reason why I agree with this, and I'll say this because you think back, all the people who live in the projects that's had some type of citations or a negative connotation because of marijuana, and now you want to use their space to grow it when most of these people can't make their own businesses because you want to overcharge them to it. So that's kind of like a slap in the face for all those kids that sold weed or adults that sell weed in the projects. How you going to put it on their property or where they live and then not let them have access to it? So it's so insulting. Like, are you really serious about doing this? Like, people just do anything and say anything they want to nowadays, and I wonder who
I don't
came
know.
up
I
with
don't
that
know what.
one. Who came
Eric.
up with that one? Oh, they won't mind. They smoke the weed anyway. Like I don't get it, and I'm trying to, I'm trying to understand it. Man.
You try to do what? What you say? You try to
I'm
do what?
trying to understand it, because some things make sense and some don't. But I can tell you right now, for those who grew up in the projects, a lot of people probably sold marijuana. This is my estimate, if you will. And for you to say, let's grow marijuana on top of project houses in New York City. Are you serious? Like, I'm right. Who's protecting it? They
And
already
then
have access to the room.
hold on, and
Come
then they're
on,
going to sit
man.
here and be in one breath talking about we got gun violence and all this other stuff, and then you're going to sit there and put a reason for more gun violence on top
Yeah.
of their rules. Whoa,
Right.
man,
Like, come on, man.
oh man, that's one of them.
Like,
That's
like
one
let's
of them.
make Babylon worse than it already is.
Yeah, it's like like that's what they're sitting there thinking. I guess I don't know, bro. That's weird, man. That's some weirdo vibes, man. Like, how did you think about that, bro? You were just Eric, brother Adams, man. I don't know, man.
maybe he was smoking something and came up with that idea. It's like, hey, let's put
Oh,
on
he
the
did one of those. You know what?
yeah.
We should put we should put marijuana on the roofs of the projects. They
Yes.
smoke weed anyway. They ain't gonna care. Yo, this is crazy, bro.
My goodness.
This is bizarro world for real, brother.
What will happen next, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what will happen next, man. Well, I know what will happen next, because next we have a black mayor proclaims April as Confederate History Month in Tennessee.
I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Say that again. What did he do?
Hold on, I'm gonna tell you right again, real quick. So, if any good podcast, anybody that's worth anything, you're gonna watch other podcasts. You're gonna watch other people, and their media footage and what they got going on. And we going through Instagram, and the real DL Hughley. Shout out to DL Hughley, one of the realest and funniest dudes out there. And his caption says, "Not all skin folk are kinfolk."
Mm-hmm.
So a black mayor proclaims April Confederate History Month in Tennessee town. So the article goes a little bit. It says, a black Tennessee mayor declared April Confederate History Month while surrounded by white members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, which says it celebrates the history of the Confederacy while denouncing racism. Huh? Oh man, this is crazy, man. We can't even make some of this stuff up, I guess, man.
That's one way to eliminate CRT, right?
Right.
That's one way to add to it by giving an equal month to Confederate.
Listen, you gotta think about it. Remember, they said CRT, critical race theory. So when you think about it, you put race that's broad spectrum. You could be talking about white, be talking about black, be talking about any color in a sense, right? So you said critical race theory instead of it black history. You understand what I'm saying? Because you just, like I said, whitewashing us, of course. You know what I mean? So, he said he's smoking there. Yo.
That's some good stuff, right?
Yo, he said, whatever that black mayor is, I don't even want to know his name. How about that? I don't even know his name. Did I say his name?
No, it's
he don't deserve
it.
No. Because if he don't see where he's making a mistake here, then I don't get where, I don't get, That's like me running around with a noose around my neck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just don't make no sense.
And calling it a necktie?
Yeah, I'm rocking noose. So this is my rope chain. This is my rope chain right here, brother. This is my rope chain, You know what I mean? I'm taking it back a little bit, brother. Matter of fact, you know how we say about the word nigga, right? Be like, yo, I'm taking the strength away from what, from the meaning of it all. Yeah. Shout out to Sean Don. He here live in effect. He was late, but he here nonetheless. It's all good though. He used to love us. He used to love us. He used to love us. It's all good though.
How about those Nets, huh?
Oh Lord, yeah.
There you go. There you go.
We said no gun violence. Violence begets violence, bro. Bang bang, back to you. All right, okay. Because it's not fair that you want to be sitting here and shooting at us because the Brooklyn Nets is stinking up the spot. That's a current event right now too. What happened? What he saying? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you laughing at you better. So the Nets is losing badly to the Boston Celtics, which I really don't like because I don't know, something about Boston I just don't like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Boston is just I can't I don't know. Shout out to Boston anyway though. You know, I ain't got no real I said by what said by 1-4, not badly. Dude, it's the playoffs. It's over.
That's right.
It's over. You lose by 1 point, that's 20 points. You lose by 4 points, that's 40. Right. Hell, nah, man. But yeah, shout out to the Brooklyn Nets. I hope they get it together. Shout out to my man Kyrie. I love his stances on his conviction. He's doing his Ramadan thing and whatnot. People sitting there laughing at him because he's, holding his religion and whatnot. Listen, a man of conviction is all right by me, man. You know what I mean? He holding to his thing. He holding to his morals and his principles and whatnot. Especially with that vaccine situation, I actually appreciated him for doing that. You know what I mean? He stood by it, and that was that. Say coming back. It was good. It was good. Brooklyn, the brown table. Brooklyn, the brown table. What's happening? All right, moving right on. This goes into our topic of the day. We're going to speak on this article real quick, but then we're going to bring it back around when we go on the break and come back after our sponsor. Words from our sponsor. But there was a smoke shop in Brooklyn robbed at gunpoint. And this goes into what I believe is some of the problems. Some of the problems that's some of the issues with the gun violence and such. It's just that it's a struggle these days. You know what I mean? There's a financial struggle and all this other stuff. So you got dudes out here smashing and grabbing these days. You know what I mean? So a smoke shop in Brooklyn robbed at gunpoint. Suspects made off with $4,800 in CBD oil and $1,000 in cash. You know what I mean? Because you got all of these new smoke shops and they have these CBD, and then some of the then some of them in no time is going to start having recreational marijuana probably. So what we're creating as we go along in these trying times is just like hot spots. I mean, don't you think, Joe? Like hot spots for people to target.
Well, no? I think more than hot spots, they're putting a value on things other than money. The value is in the CBD oil and the other things that were stolen, right? Mm-hmm. So this is going to become a pattern because of the fact that selling marijuana is becoming so expensive and illegalized, if you will. People are just going to find other ways to obtain their marijuana and their resources. So, but it goes with, yeah, it's crazy because the summer has not started yet. And it's been like this all year round. So you can imagine when the summer comes around, that first real hot week, it's going to be lit up in there like Jamaica for real. Like, and I mean, from metaphorically and I mean symbolically. So it's going to be a lot happening. But what I think to digress what I was saying is you're bringing value to things other than money. And
right, because
paying these things anymore. So
because you're thinking about it, remember they're using less money as is anyway. Everything is card and automated. So if you can't go to the store and be sitting there like, yo, well, they ain't gonna have a bunch of money because everything is carded. Everything is carded. So you're gonna say, give me your receipts, give me your card, like give me your bank cards, like you know what I mean. So therefore, what you're going to go in there and be snatching and grabbing is, like you said, those things of value that you could go on the street and then get money for. That's one thing. Another thing, it says another smoke shop. That's another thing. It's a pattern. Another smoke shop in Brooklyn was robbed Friday afternoon. That's another key part about this. Friday afternoon. and the robbers made off with the thousands of dollars in merchandise and such, right? 2 men walked in at 3 p.m. That now, oh my goodness, it's crazy. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and these people are robbing stores
on a Friday in Brooklyn, in a busy part of Brooklyn. Like, no shame.
But now, one of the reasons, and we're going to bring it up with the violence against violence topic, is I believe is, it comes with some of the this is post-pandemic situations. Remember, you can run around with masks now. You know what I mean? Listen, why wouldn't they get smart about it, right? So we're going to come back and we're going to speak to that when we talk about violence begets violence. All right. First, we have a word from the Evening Rush Network and Sean Donnan. Peace.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
All right. Of course, we are sponsored by none other than Baller Shot Callers. That's www.baller.org. That's BALAA.org. All right. We are also on Instagram at Plugged MJ. That's Plugged Mahli and Joe. Plugged MJ. The topic of the day, violence begets violence. We just finished reading the article based on a few gun robberies, and I was bringing up a point about the mask mandate, from pandemic days. I mean, I guess we could say that's old news now, because we used to talk about COVID, we used to talk about the vaccines, and now that's not even nowhere near part of the topic anymore. Numbers ain't part of it. It's almost like it disappeared, but it didn't. But violence begets violence, and one of the I guess you'd say the children, or one of the underlying situations that came out of the COVID pandemic is all of the gun violence in New York City. I believe it has a lot to do with it. I believe it has a lot to do with how the economy is, the wars is going on. The economy is getting hit, got hit hard when it came down to the pandemic. Now you have a war going on. And another thing, the mask mandate. Trust you me, I'm going to speak to that a little bit later. But Joe, let's talk about this topic right now. Violence begets violence. That's one of that's one of the most biblical terms. Violence begets violence. If you're going to, and I look at it as this country being one of the more violent countries there is. They are built on violence, if you ask me. And what do you think the children are going to be, in a sense? You know what I mean? So that's where we at. We're here in a time where it's almost like the wild, wild west. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about it, Joe. Violence begets violence. Is there a feasible solution?
Not if they aren't willing to look for ways of peace. I look at the right to bear arms, right, in the Bill of Rights. I look for that in the Constitution. I look for the Bill of Rights as being the right to bear arms as being one of those that has to be altered, has to be changed in order to it, because giving people the right to bear arms means that you're giving them just cause to carry guns around. And if they feel threatened or insecure, that's part of the problem. People have a right to carry guns or carry weapons of violence. Violence will be committed, regardless of if it's intentional or not. Having that right gives people a willingness, a necessity to show that they can be volatile people. If you're going to change that up, then I think we might have a chance to do it. If we show that we can solve a lot of our problems in this world without violence and use more peaceful tact, then it can be changed. If you acknowledge the violence that was committed in the past and don't brush it over and make it seem like it wasn't a big thing, then violence can be changed. But until then, the violence will not be changed because there are so many factors that have to take place in order for us to say we can become a less volatile country. Like you said, we use violence to get our point across, and we justify our violence. Look at what's going on in Ukraine with the war. $800 million in war aid was just given. Another $800 million.
And we can use that 800 million in the hood to stop these kids from shooting one another, because a lot of their situations about a matter of survival and getting that bread.
But in the case of Ukraine, the violence is justified because they're protecting resources. But wouldn't that be here? The same violence that occurs in this city?
Well, the resources is our children, right? The most important resources is the human beings that's here, no?
Yeah. Say that again. You said that. Yeah. Well, the resources should definitely be our kids. The resources should definitely be. I mean, the kids are the future, right? They're going to determine what this country looks like in 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
But the way that this country is set doesn't show a regard for our children or the people who are here now that are living the rest of their lives.
Speaking of a lot of mental health issues, because you had the gentleman who he's not even fit to stand trial, that killed the lady in Midtown, and he was sitting there screaming at the police. A black man too, a black brother too. You know what I mean? But mental health is definitely part of the situation. But to what extent? Because remember, we had pre-pandemic situation where the hood was the hood, the violence was there. But what makes it so much different now? You understand what I'm saying? Like, for me, what makes it so much different? It seems so much more cold. It seems so much cold-hearted. It seems so more brazen. Like I said, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, they sitting there just robbing stores. You know what I mean? And I think it has a lot to do with a lot more cowardice as well, because of the fact these kids can sit here and throw on these masks. And they have on masks, and no one finds that suspicious anymore. Remember, if you're running around in a mask and it's 90 degrees outside, the police will stop you like, well, you about to go rob somebody. That wearing a mask was significant to either you're doing construction or you're about to rob somebody. You understand what I'm saying? Now the mask mandate allows for the mask to be worn at any time, any part of the day, any time, any part of the night, and as such. I said it when it first started, like, man, listen, y'all think it's bad now. Watch the rate of crime. Watch the rate of crime, because all you got to do is just get smart about it. Be like, oh, they can't see my face anymore. Oh my goodness, I'm out there. You understand? Yeah.
I totally agree with what you're saying, but I think it's more or less there's no risk, there's no fear and consequence anymore either. We got to look at this generation. Like you said, it's very brazen, and there's no risk in the consequences. Like we talk about the recent attacks that have recently happened, these suspects show no regard. They show no human side. And it's almost like it's warranted now because of the stress that's during the pandemic, or like you said, mental health issues from earlier. So a lot of that takes a part, but that's also part of it where we have to pay attention to, because if we don't pay attention to any of that stuff, it's going to continue. We can't ignore these things.
Now, my thing is like, I get a feeling, I get an idea that this is like some targeted agenda as well. Said NYPD not doing their job, period, and Mayor not on his job forcing them. That could be true, but I also feel like this is a targeted agenda as well, just to get some type of laws, or laws passed, or get these gun laws, a little more strict. Hey, look, all of this violence, all of this death, y'all got to do something about it now. Because I'll go with the subway shooter, man, that gas bomber subway shooter. I don't know, man. They were talking about the he was supposed to be tactical. Man, that man looked so out of shape, man. I'm not going to sit there and say he couldn't do it, he didn't do it. But I don't know, man. It just seems so weird, man. Just some things just seem weird, and there's some things just seem like so out of out of whack these days. So what do you think? You know what I mean? What do you think about that? The subway shooting, the gas bomber situation.
Well, I think it was definitely intent. I think that he had just got tired, frustrated, fed up with all that's happening and seeing no results. And sometimes people got to take action to do what they did. And in his case, I believe that's what he did. I know people who are just frustrated and they look like catch them on a bad day, and we could have something that happened in Brooklyn. But that comes from years of being ignored. That comes from years of having to deal with all the nonsense out there. This trauma. That's a result of a lot of trauma in his life. And he really did not care. He was just fed up with it because he didn't see any changes. He had so many videos ahead of time that showed you that you can see the breaking point. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I'm mad. Something's going to happen. And he's telling
that. So that leads to my next question for you then. So is it part economic impact? Is it PTSD from the pandemic? What is what's happening now, even with the shooter in the subway, when you're talking about the senseless gun violence in the hood, when you talk about all that is happening in New York City, to where I'm actually scared, right? I'm actually a little nervous, and I'm normally walking these streets strong, like, with no problems. But listen, I'm a little what's the name? Is it from pandemic, or is it something else?
I think a lot of it has to do with the result of the last 2 years. We have to realize a lot was lost for a lot of people over the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of it hasn't been recognized. I personally feel that in regards to the subway shooter, he was just at a breaking point. I don't think this is a case of frustration. I think it was just something that happened and he was just tired of it. But that's not to say that there are other people who feel like him, but not necessarily willing to do what he did. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to acknowledge that it's definitely a mental health issue. It's definitely PTSD. It's definitely pandemic, post-pandemic traumatic disorder. All that stuff plays a part. But
so how do you get therapy for nation?
Well, what would have been great is finding programs that can help and assist, getting people back to work, getting people the resources that they need to survive. Metal detectors. I actually heard that. That's another thing that the mayor said he was going to do. Start putting metal detectors in the subway. And I don't know if that will help, because here's the thing: you don't have enough
avoid the subway.
You don't have enough police at the exits, right?
You just avoid the subway too.
Right. That's the other thing. Like, you find other means to get around, but then New York City subways become like other transportation systems in other cities. The people who that live outside of these other big cities, they don't use the subway. They don't use the buses. They drive. They walk. They don't use that stuff. That stuff is for public, riffraff, all types of stuff like that. Like, I went to Detroit last summer. Regular people ain't using that transportation. Mm-hmm. I got on to Detroit, I was scared because I was like, these aren't regular people. You know what I mean? So it becomes something like that. And you're trying to avoid things like that. You're trying to get people, especially if you want the city to become the way that it was pre-pandemic, you're trying to get people back to reality, but it's going to take a lot more than just cops on trains.
Right. Like I said, me personally, I know that I think the nation needs therapy as a whole. You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe we could just get on TV at some point on Sundays and just start talking about it, have somebody talk about it, because a lot of this is a lot of mental stress, man. You gotta think about it. There's people that has lost people during this pandemic. There's people that's lost loved ones during this situation. There's people that lost their jobs during this situation. There's people that lost their health during this situation. They had good health before. Now, they're not doing so well in life and whatnot. And then you're sitting there talking about You're talking about these kids out here, and they're just coming up with ideas and plans. And remember, they had a lot of time to do nothing. A lot of people had a lot of time to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? And now that you're getting outside and you're out there, now you're out there trying to get your man. Listen, it's so sad. That's why you catch me getting caught up, because there's no real. I don't have no solutions. I only have solutions based on what I can do as a community leader. I can help. I can try to help. You know what I mean? And that's what goes to my last question here. What can the common man do to help? Like, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? So I look at it like this. I look at myself. What can I do? And I say I can be the best community leader that I can. And I can be someone that talks to another young man or talks to another young woman. And in doing so, that person has a chance to be saved. You do the same, Joe. Jada does the same. Sean does the same. Each one of us that's here listening and within the earshot, within earshot of what I'm saying, if you go out and speak to another young man and talk about, yeah, you do have to worry about that too. But you could talk to these young men in such, in such a manner where where you breathe in life into them. Instead of them wanting to take death, you want to breathe life into them. You want to put opportunities in their hands. You want to, you know what I mean? We got to show something, right? There are community-led surveys out there, you know what I'm saying, where they have community leaders who want to know, what do you think? What does the people think? What do the kids think about what changes can be done in the community, in the hood, to help them, get past the struggles. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know, bro. I know they don't fear much. I know they don't fear much, but at the same time, were we very fearful in a sense too? You know what I mean? Growing up, we was very fearless in a sense. They don't fear life and death. I think we had a little more respect for life and death. I think fear is a broad statement. I think fear in life and death is a different thing, because they don't care about taking it anymore. Yeah, he said scared straight helped us, bro. A little bit. But now you can write, and also what can the common man do? You can write write letters to your local elected officials about what changes you need to see. What do you think they need to see in the community? Whether it be more community centers, whether it be more, what's they called? What's the people called? First, I forget, it's first responders. I don't remember.
First aid.
No, not first responders. Well, those two, we need first responders. We need people that's there quick and to the point when it comes down to anything happening in the hood. You know what I mean? Like I said, first aid. We need more clinics. We need more help, period, in the community. So therefore, you write the letters to your local elected officials, and they have to do something about it, because it's there, it's documented. What else can the common man do, Joe?
Oh gosh, just be that beacon, be that example. Be that example of what nonviolence and peace is. I know there are a lot of people who have examples in their community. If you lead a family, be that person. Don't champion peace, champion all of those things. Don't use violent tactics. Show people that there are other ways to handle situations. I will say this: a lot of times violence is occurred because that's usually the first option. That's usually the first reaction that a lot of us go to, because that's where we feel our strongest. But let people know there are other ways to resolve conflict. There are other ways to resolve conflict without necessarily pulling out a weapon or throwing up your fist and saying, let's fight, let's fight, let's fight. Yeah. And that has to be part of it as well. We have to show that for our men and our women, because everybody's accessible to this. Everybody reacts in a certain way. And like Sean said earlier, is that you have to be careful about what you say. You look at somebody funny and they ready to fight you. You don't even got to say anything anymore. You can look at them. I'm on the subway. My eyes are looking at somebody in a different direction, and they're staring at me like they want to fight. And I'm not even looking at them. I just happen to be looking their way. And then if you don't say anything, people feel like you're disrespecting them. So then what's the next step? They're going to get more volatile. So you really have to. I keep my eyes closed on the subway if I'm sitting down next to myself. And if anybody
I avoid public transportation. I stay in the house more time than not.
Right.
I'm really focused on time. I come out to focus on the community work and the work at hand. You know what I mean? Yeah, these parents are doing their jobs as well as we would want them to do. I would say some of them are doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have, you know. What another way that what the common man can do to help get rid, stop this violence is visiting and communicating with community boards. You know what I mean? Get in their ears to say what is necessary to diffuse this violent surge in New York City. How can we do it? We have to get involved. How can we do it? We have to get in these kids' ears. How can you do it, parents? You have to get in your kids' ear. Everything I see is a bunch of, they don't want. Listen, I don't care about privacy. I'm sitting there. Listen, privacy. What? Well, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's do this. Let's be involved, man. We keep coming up with excuses and then wondering why we burying our kids. That don't make any sense. Do it?
Not at all. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but
man.
At the end of the day, like you said earlier, there's only so much we can do, but it takes a community. Remember, people could discipline other people's kids back in the day.
Right.
Because they were looked at as their own kids. And a lot of that, if you had other people looking out for you, you could resolve a lot of these issues. If we didn't have a lot of, some slipped through the cracks, but for the most part, a community was pretty well set. You knew what to do and what not to do. And even if you tried it, you knew how far you could go. You never crossed that line. But nowadays, there's no unity. Everything is about individualism. So nobody's looking out for anybody anymore.
So the brother said we can use these podcast formats to reach out to a lot of them when we know it comes down to the breakdown in the families for the most part, but we can use our voices. That's the plan. That's what we're going to try to do. That's what we've been doing, a podcast like this, and my son sees it and then his friends see it or what have you. They get a certain mentality that there's certain things that they can and can't do out in these streets or what have you. They're not out here necessarily gang banging. At least I don't think so. At least I don't feel so. At least I can see from what I see. You know what I mean? So I know being the example of what you want them to do. You know what I mean? Yeah, being the example of what you want them to do is actually a big key. You have to walk the walk, I guess you'd say. You know what I mean? And that's the sad part about a topic like this. There's no real ending. There's no real closure to a topic like this because we can't get to the bottom line until we start getting our hands on these kids and start being able to wrap their minds around living, you know what I'm saying? And living for themselves and allowing others to live as well. So, I want to close off the topic of the day because we can't get much closure out of it. We're going to keep going round and round in a circle because I actually have some good news that's going as well. So the topic of the day, I appreciate Joe or his words on the topic of the day. But we're going to move on ahead and have some good news to end out because this is the work that's being done that allows for us to say, okay, we have something that can help, offset the gun violence. How? Because we have something to present. We have something to bring to the community, and that's our program Baller. So this week, Big Apple Leadership Academy of the Arts had a very, very, very big past week and whatnot. Got a lot of things done, getting a lot of things done. But this is the program that you want to send your children to, or you want to be a part of as an adult as well. Just to get, like you said, if you want to be a part of the reason why the surge is down, if you want to be a part of if you want to be the answer to the questions that we have today, then this is the kind of program you want to get down with. Because listen, something that near and dear to me, we did this past weekend. I think it was Saturday. Yeah. Yes, brother. We have to reach them at an early age, and in doing so, this is what these programs is all about. Big Apple Leadership Academy for the Arts. The Empire Marching Elite had a great chance to perform with none other than the great Josh Groban at Radio City Music Hall. Yeah. And we have a video presentation of our performance there at Radio City Music Hall. This is a big thing. And these are some of the things that we can do to get the guns out of these kids' hands by putting an instrument in their hands. If you will. while they're getting the video up, also what I want to announce to you guys is that the Empire Marching Elite, along with Big Apple Leadership Academy of the Arts, along with the Brooklyn Cyclones, and along with the Amazing Mets Foundation, we are the official pep band for the Brooklyn Cyclones. So that's another thing we got going on. Yay! All right, so the video is coming up. I don't know, it's a little trippy. We'll see what's happening. Yep, that's what's missing in the community. The village raise the kids, meaning everybody around. Yes, sir, everybody around. And speaking of everybody around, the people of our coalition, all right, the Northern Style Band Coalition, they're taking a trip to Virginia Union University for high school band day. All right, let's go. If we could play it, let's go.
But it's for learning and for development, for growing and understanding. All of the monies that we have are all us doing public fundraising, from going out and just performing and collecting donations as people walk by. All of my staff members do this work for the love of the art. We're able to use their love for music and their passion for performing to introduce our members to things that they otherwise probably wouldn't have done.
I just want other people to feel happy the way I do.
The fact that we've been able to do as much as we have done, I think it speaks volumes.
Please welcome to the Empire Marching Elite. Amazing. That was incredible. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Janae. Hi, Janae. Would you come over here? What is the name? Is that a tuba or is that?
It's a sousaphone.
A sousaphone. I love it. That's a
That's Josh Groban. We could cut it there. Yeah, that was big. Yo, talk about proud. Proud is, listen, was the understatement. I was on cloud nine. I was on the highest mountain, just screaming to all the naysayers and all that, man. Even the naysayers came out and said, "Hey, what are you talking about?"
Right.
The naysayers had to come and say, "Wait, it wasn't me. It wasn't me." But yeah, so man, listen, it's such an amazing week, man. We started out with the Brooklyn Cyclones on Friday. Then we did a show. Friday. No, last week. Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. Brooklyn Cyclones, Amazing Mets Foundation. We out there on the baseball field. It was such a beautiful feeling and whatnot. Yes, we did it Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. Yep. Trip to Virginia Union University. That's our band coalition, basically a band coalition trip. A bunch of our kids is going to go out there and they're going to perform. They're going to do their thing. They're going to audition and maybe get a scholarship. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe, let's hope for the best for these kids that are going out there. We also have coming up on the Empire March and Elite TED Talk with David Sierra and the Empire March and Elite, of course. Composer, big time composer. You have to Google him to really know exactly what he got going on, but he got some stuff going on with himself and whatnot. Also, mark it down on your calendar. We're going to have a big block party, so I expect the Evening Rush to be out there, big time. Baller Block Party, August 13th this summer. Big. I mean, that Gates Avenue between Broadway and Ralph is going to be blocked off, and we're going to do it up. We're going to have all kinds of stuff, entertainment. We're going to have a show out there. I don't know. We might bring our show out there. We might bring a live podcast out there. Who knows? All right. And yes, thank you. Appreciate you. And summer enrichment registration is open, so you can get on our website. That's BALAA.org. That is BALAA.org, and sign your kids up to one of the best programs out here in New York City, if not the best. We're trying to get there if we ain't get there yet. So therefore, check out all of the things that we're doing. We're doing so much in our summer enrichment program that I'm actually going to sit down in on some of these classes, brother, just to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And we're going to definitely incorporate you, Joe, so be ready. We need you for a few trips, so get your mind right. All right? So, Joe, take us out of here, man. I talked enough.
I was waiting. No, I'm just kidding. Another day, another story to tell. As we keep moving forward, just look at what we've done and look at what we're going to be able to do. And this is not a message just from Mahli and myself. This is a message for anybody who's listening to our podcast and in their own personal and professional lives. Take what you've done yesterday and put it forth today so that you can have a better tomorrow.
Indeed. And with that, man, listen, I wanted to say I love humanity in a whole, you know what I mean? I don't do the color thing. I just love black better, I just love black a little bit more. I love black a little bit more. And that's only because I'm biased, right? I was born this way, right? Obviously, right? So I got a little bias when it comes down to it. But when it comes down to who I am, I am a man of the human race. And I love humanity. I love everybody in it, man. I just hope and pray for peace, man. I hope pray for more peace. Listen, we want a show that says peace begets peace. You know what I mean? Let's do that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what we got to do. One of our next shows, peace begets peace. You know what I'm saying? And go from there. You know what I mean? Because I think we got enough going on that would be the case. You know what I mean? That we could have a good show and whatnot. So with that being said, man, I just want to say to everybody, man, got nothing but love for the human race, man. Peace, man.
Peace.